The versatility of this fish has amazed me for over 30 years. And whether you find them on structure, rock piles, or the flats of South Florida, they will always be a battle. Tonight, we're talking about permit.
Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello everyone, we are so excited to see you back on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. We've got some killer reports for you from all around the state today. And like Rick said, we're fishing for the permit this weekend, right Rick?
Absolutely, Bree. And you know, permit is something I've been stalking the flats from Key Biscayne all the way to Key West. I've caught them in a lot of the great places, the Gulf of Mexico, off the West Coast, and they never cease to amaze me, as I said, in the cold open.
And it never ceases to amaze me how a shark always gets mine.
Yeah,
but that'll happen, right?
You know, you're a sharky kind of girl.
I am a little sharky girl. Okay, what do you say we get started? Starting us off tonight is Captain Ronnie Houston in the Bell's Real Legends Southwest region. What's up for this weekend, Ronnie?
Well, grateful to start us off this week. You know, the permits in my region are generally targeted on the offshore side all through the region, and we have plenty of them. But don't pass up the inshore side where they can be found along grass flat edges and even on the flats all through the region. Now, this is something that's not very common, but it does happen. And I can remember about 2 months back, I was at an event, and up in the northern end of the region, the guys were going crazy because they were catching permits on the flats in one particular area. They were only 6 to 10 pounds, but they were catching them. Not common. Chances are they won't be back there again, but don't mess them up on the inshore side. Now, on the offshore wrecks and artificial reefs, you can also get them on man-made rubble piles. Try looking for the fish on top or drifting the areas with live crabs or live shrimp, either with a cork or a small weight to figure out where they might be in the water column, or you can simply anchor up and try the same method as well as chumming while anchored. Also, while drifting or anchoring, keep an eye out for groups of fish on your bottom finder. And depending on what type of winter we are having as water temps start to warm, April through October can be a great time to target these fish. Average size is anywhere from 15 pounds to 35 pounds. Fish right now in the 35-pound class have been caught. And I've got a couple of pictures here. The first picture will be Steve Malakakis with a nice permit. And the second picture will be Tanner Vandermark with another nice permit. Those fish were caught up in the northern end of the region. Plenty of opportunity right now to catch the permit. Now still, on the offshore side, the mangrove snappers. Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass and depths right now of 45 to 65 feet, concentrating on wrecks and ledges and also small areas of hard bottom. Now, chumming to draw the fish up, but you can also use cut bait on chicken rigs on the bottom. But if the fish come up, you want to concentrate on free-lining small cut baits like pilchard, shrimp, squid, and herring. One thing I need to tell you is these fish don't take much to get located. One stir up, lighten on the chum, because I will promise you, you might need to be moving on. They probably figured you out, but plenty opportunity right now for the mangrove snappers.
All right, Ronnie, before we go inshore, I actually want to take a second and look at the navionics from your region. Now, the one thing that I really enjoy when I'm looking and searching for new places is how Navionics HD that I use on my iPad, I actually are able to see lots of wrecks and rock piles that you have throughout your region. But looking at the next photo, it actually shows me all the different contours and drop-offs. Now, I love taking the cursor, and when I take that cursor and I put it on an actual wreck, what it does is it pops up the GPS number. But more importantly, it gives me the details of all the different things that this particular wreck has. I'm really starting to learn a lot of new things, a lot of new places using my Navionics. All right, Ronnie, let's go ahead and go inshore.
Well, we're going to concentrate right now on the snooks. The early morning high along the beaches all through the region, tight to the beach line, or the first trough or even the blowdowns. Now, Mormon Key to Indian Key, the last half of the incoming to the first half of the outgoing, strictly concentrating on the outer Gulf Islands. I can tell you right now, fish are very plentiful and not very hard to find. Time to start practicing for September 1st opening. Now, you want to concentrate, if you're fishing along the beaches on these tides, live pilchards, silver spoons, white bucktails, flies, and small lip plugs, as these fish do have your number, and it can be a bit spooky and know you're coming. But on the outer Gulf Islands, topwater plugs, gold and silver spoons, smoke or root beer grubs on a jig head and live pilchards. And a prime example of fish we're catching right now, I have a picture. That's Dr. T, who was fishing with me, one amongst many fish we caught strictly throwing topwater plugs all day. Now, the redfish also. Early morning in the northern end of the region, regular key to Demir Key, also Cape Hayes Point to Cattle Dock Point. Now, with the tides, the fish will be tight to the mangroves. Then as the tide starts falling, they'll be working their way out to the first trough along the shoreline, then scattering out to the deeper potholes as the tide gets lower, where they will be grouped up. Live pinfish, pilchards, cut ladyfish, pinfish, and mullet. But first thing in the morning, topwater plugs, and the bass assassin die dappers and smoking shad or Houdini. I promise you, once the boat traffic picks up, go to your bait. And an announcement early in August for September 17th, our annual Take a Soldier Fishing, downtown Naples, September 17th. We'll have over 60 captains taking over 100 active soldiers out. Please mark the date and be there and support your troops.
All right, thanks for getting us started out of the Bell Southwest region, Ronnie. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from your region. Inshore, tarpon, late night incoming until dawn, fishing the bridge spans from Sanibel to Cape Coral and Punta Gorda. And then offshore, red groupers, Marcos to Sanibel, 75 to 95 feet of water, fishing hard bottom using cut baits.
Well, guys, for the past couple of weeks, we've actually been telling you all about the CCA Homestead Banquet and Auction September 22nd, and guess what? I think it actually worked because the event sold out.
How about that? The first time event.
Woohoo!
I love it. Good job.
Love it. Rick and I hope to see you there if you're going, but for more info, visit ccaflorida.org.
That's right.
But out in the Yeti Northwest region is Captain Jeff Hageman. Jeff is kind of having some technical difficulties, so I think Rick's going to go ahead and read his report for us tonight.
All right.
How about
so
it?
we're going to start by talking about permit, and let me grab his report here real quick. So the Hag said that this week we're talking about permit. Certainly, it's one of his favorite species that he targets, with great permit fishing in his region. They have some really big fish, 30 to 45 pounds, usually showing up at the beginning of April, all the way through the end of March in good numbers on the offshore wrecks and reefs. They use 15 to 20 pound fish, are not usually uncommon, and they're far few weeks or so, they're gonna start to slow down, as well as show up in greater numbers, 50 to 200 fish schools. Using dollar-sized crabs are always the best bait. 20 to 40 pound Suffolk fluorocarbon leader using a 2.0 to 4.0 hook, but an 1/8 or a 1/4 ounce jig in chartreuse color. Permit certainly loves chartreuse. They're part of the jack family, with a tail hook shrimp. Always works very well. A great tip on permit fishing is to fish with light drags to start, and then the first run, they're unstoppable, so then you can back off on the drag a little bit, and then make sure that you slow him down if possible before he reaches that wreck. Sometimes that can really be a challenge, but those are a couple key tips for catching a permit. So he has a photo here of a pair of nice permit from the West Coast. Actually, you can tell Hag guided those people to those permit. Great job. All right, his second species offshore is going to be AJs. They're still plentiful in the lower half of his region. The wrecks and reef and the springs in 75 to 130 feet of water. They're using Spanish sardines and blue runners for bait. Free lining them on a standard bottom rig. You might have to downsize your leader if the water's clear and the conditions are calm. The fish have been a little bit picky. All right, moving inshore. Captain Jeff says snook are really concentrated around the passes still. And if you fish the wash channel along the beaches, there's still a lot of small fish there. You can use small fry type of baits. There's a new hatch of small sardines that are pushing down along the edge of the bait. A lot of small male snook are in large numbers and are gorging themselves so that they can match that. So you might want to match the hatch by using small baits like white bass assassin turbo shads and an 1/8 ounce jig head. Work very well. The larger females will be in the deeper passes and near the jetties and docks, near moving water, hand-sized pinfish, grass grunts on a 1 ounce egg lead drifted through the pass or fished under a cork. On the outgoing tide, fishing up to 40 inches are being caught. Those are really big snook, huh, Bree?
Oh, yeah.
And then
Very into
his last species is going to be redfish. Captain John Wayne of JB Charters out of Apalachicola reported that redfish bite has been good along the marsh edges at the end of the bay, on top of the tide. The bite is good on live finger mullet and pinfish using 2-0 hooks and a ½ ounce lead with 20 to 25 pound leader. He's got a couple photos of some Apalachicola redfish that Captain John caught. Nice couple redfish there, Bree. What do you think about that?
It's called Apalachicola. Did you know that?
I know
that
it.
song?
So let's take a look. That was the Yeti Northwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots from the Northwest region. Inshore, snook along the beaches and passage. Use free line pinfish and sardines. And then offshore, mangrove snapper on the high relief structure in 10 to 50 feet of water using tail hook shrimp or a small pinfish on a knocker rig.
Take a deep breath. That was a lot of reading for you, wasn't it?
I might need
I'm a
some
little disappointed, though, I have to say.
medic.
Do you want to know
medic.
why? You didn't add a little growl to your voice. At least try to sound like a man.
Oh, what's going on there, Cupcake?
What? Okay, coming right up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Good try, Rick. We're headed off the deep end and then taking a look into the Central West region, so stay hooked. Woohoo! Good job, Rick.
Thanks.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet. Find new roads. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation. Humminbird. Simply, clearly better. Decks and Docks Lumber Company. Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts. www.kingsailfish.com.
Today, we're talking about Automotive Awards. Which one of these awards appeals most to you?
Top safety pick, mid-size car and SUV.
Most dependable means a lot to me.
The green car, because I like fuel efficiency.
What if there was a car company that received all of these awards?
One company, one award in all these? Chevy.
Chevrolet is the most awarded car company of the last 2 years.
I love it. It's fierce.
How would you sum this car up in one word?
Incredible, amazing. I can't use one word.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
It's one of the most ancient forms of hide and seek known to man. And nobody knows how to play the fishing game better than the backcountry guides and offshore captains of the Florida Keys and Key West. Ready or not, here we come.
It's time for the FWC news and notes. August 27th is the Flying Wild Workshop in Manatee County. Also on August 27th, there's a fishing clinic for the ladies in Fernandina Beach. And September 17th, there's a kids fishing clinic in Sarasota. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now it's time to go off the deep end.
Hummingbirds off the deep end. We're here with Alex Woodsum from Bonefish Tarpon Truss at the CCA Workbench. And Alex, you know, permit is something that you certainly know a lot about because of your job. And more importantly, I really have been fishing for them for a long time. So let's talk about the rigs and techniques that we, use. What is one of the permits food sources that they obviously get into?
Well, they primarily eat crab, but they also eat a lot of shrimp and little lobsters, and they'll also be known to eat sea urchins as well. But crab's the primary food source for them.
Well, speaking of crab, I just happened to think and know that you were going to say that. So I put my little CCA bucket together, and guess what? In here somewhere is a live crab. There's 2 or 3 of them in there. Now, Alex, as a guide, the one thing that we try to express to the people where we buy the crabs at the bait and tackle store is that we like that crab that's about the same size as our inside of our finger here. And the key to that is we call him an A-OK crab. Now look at this, Alex. See how his body, his carapace fits perfectly inside of that part of my fingers. So that's the right size crab that we like to use. Now, while I'm rigging this, we find the fish on different places. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so permit are found in a lot of different places. They'll be offshore, on wrecks. They really like structure, so you'll find them around all sorts of structure, little rock piles, and you'll also find them up on the flats.
All right, perfect. Now, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about wrecks. A lot of times it's deep water, guys. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna use a jig head. Now this is a particular 1/4 ounce VMC. That's the common size, is a 1/4 ounce. And the way we're gonna hook this crab is we're gonna actually hook him right here in the corner. Now, so that you don't break the shell, you're gonna wanna wiggle that so that it kind of drills a hole through there. Once you've done that, now he's ready to go. And the great part about a crab when you're out there fishing, make sure that you test his legs. As long as you see him putting his legs out like that, then it works perfectly. Now, Alex, on the flats, we don't use a jig head because our presentation when we throw to these permit is to crash it in their face. So whether you use a circle hook or you want to use a traditional J hook, we're going to use the same thing. I'm using a 7-foot spinning rod, but we're using a little split shot on that J hook so that when it hits the water, crashing it into his face, we're gonna actually let it sink, and that'll help him sink to the bottom. Now what ends up happening is the crab is gonna try to dig and get to the bottom before the permit eats him, and you get that tremendous reaction bite. All right, Alex, you're here because you are a specialist in tarpon, bonefish, and permit research. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what's going on with the permit tagging program that Costa has?
Yeah, so Costa has sponsored this program for several years now, and we've dart tagged a lot of fish, and we've gotten 30 recaptures to date, which is pretty cool. And the vast majority of the fish tend to stay in a pretty small home range. They really don't go very far. We've recaptured fish years later on the same exact flat where they were originally tagged, which is pretty cool. And we've also had a few fish that will go longer distances, over 100 miles, and are recaptured on wrecks. So, we think they're going there for spawning.
Now, last year we introduced an acoustic tag now are we using those acoustic tags for what different species?
Yeah, so we're actually using them for bonefish, tarpon, and permit. The great thing about acoustic tags is that they come in a lot of different sizes, so you can use really, really small ones for bonefish and permit, and then larger ones for tarpon. And, it's a great way to tag them because there's an array of acoustic receivers all over the coastal United States. So if these fish that are tagged swim within range of the receivers, they'll be picked up and detected.
Okay, speaking of the receiver, how far out does that receiver work as it's searching or for a fish to swim by?
Yeah, great question. So they're on the bottom, and in really deep water, a fish can swim within 500 to 600 yards of that. So
Wow.
It's really a pretty big area. And in shallower water, it's a little bit closer, but still, as long as the fish is in the general vicinity, it'll be detected by those receivers.
All right, now speaking of that, Alex, we just had an acoustic tag tarpon. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so our tarpon acoustic tagging program began earlier this spring, and the great thing about this program is that we can tag different size fish, and the tags last a long time, so we can track them over time. And previously with satellite tagging, we could only tag fish 80 pounds and above.
Right.
And we actually tagged a fish in the lower Keys in late May that was a 45-pound fish. And that size fish is not sexually mature yet. And so we didn't really know what they were doing and if they moved long distances, and people didn't really think that they did. And we actually got a detection on that fish a month later, about 400 miles north near Port Orange, Florida, which was really, really cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so if people want to know more about bonefish tarpon trust or acoustic tagging, how can they get in contact with you guys?
Yeah, so they can either email us at info@bonefishtarpontrust.org, or they can visit our website, btt.org. And there's a lot of ways for people to get involved. We're currently doing bonefish genetics studies, and we've been getting a lot of reports lately of fish being caught up near the Indian River Lagoon and even farther north, and we'd love to get fin clip samples from those fish.
You did a great job. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming in. All right, Bree, where are we going next?
Yeah, great job, Alex. It's Blontourage on set tonight. All right, hailing from the Startron Central West region is Captain Jeff Page with your permit report for the weekend. Hey, Page.
Hey, real quick, Rick, I think we need to talk to Alex about getting some of those acoustic tags for our redfish. Maybe get them tagged before the tournament.
Paige, you're always trying to work the angle. That's what I love about you, bub.
Yep. Anyway, you know what, you guys, in the Startron Central West region, the permit bite cranks up as early as April, and it goes right through the summer months, with June and July being the peak months. Look for the fish holding on wrecks and reefs in as close as 45 feet of water during the spring and on out to 85, 100 feet once that water heats up. Calm days are nice, but not a necessity. The key, Rick, is getting your boat positioned properly, especially when the fish are staying down. Live small pass crabs along with select shrimp work best, but you can get them to chase down a crab pattern fly, especially when it's calm and they're up on the surface. Real quick, it's not uncommon for a school of smaller fish like 8 to 10 pounders to push into the bays like southern Tampa Bay and Charlotte Harbor, some of your bigger bays, and they'll start feeding on shrimp and crabs there. And right now, as we speak, there's a group of them right near the Skyway Bridge, and we've been catching a couple a day. I've got a photo tonight of a trout fisherman from Sarasota, Florida, with his first permit that he caught with Captain Stacy Capps, Tideline Charters.
Good job, Paige. I love it. I love that. All right, what else you got for us?
All right, we got Wahoo. Captain Eric White of Legacy Charters reports he's been getting out in 150 to 170 feet of water and marking stuff on his machine, spotting fish in that mid-column range, Rick. And then he gets out his deep diving Yozuris and the silver and black Rapala 30X wraps, and he's trolling in and around that area where he marked them, and he's been getting one or two Wahoo strikes along with a bunch of bonitas. And I got a photo tonight of Eric White of Legacy Charters with an old friend of mine, Charlie Sardi of Venice, with a really nice Wahoo they got last week.
Wow.
Man, that looks good. That's some good sushi.
Fish
All
dip.
right, let's go inshore, Pop.
Going inshore, redfish starting to move on the bays throughout the entire region, with a lot of fish holding on the oyster bars and flats of Turtle and Bull Bay, as well as along the east wall from Pirate Harbor back towards Burnt Store. Throw quarter-ounce gold spoons or the new butt-naked saltwater assassin sea shad rigged on a quarter-ounce chartreuse jig head, or you can try chunks of cut ladyfish or pinfish up under the bushes during the higher stages of the tide. I've got a redfish photo tonight. 13-year-old Michael Russo with one of 5 reds he got with me the other day on a fly that he tied himself.
All right, great job, Michael. Good job, Captain Page. What else?
Real quick, last species, pompano. Just like those permit pushing in the bay, the pompanos have made a push into Sarasota Bay as well as the flats by the Sunshine Skyway and Emerson Point. What the guys have been doing is finding them on the flats, either skipping or flashing, and they're throwing the new Europro Surebait jig in pink or yellow. And I've got, that's it. One quick note, it's still not too late to sign up for the CCA Star, because lots of tagged fish are still out there.
You're so right, Captain Page. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Star region. Inshore, Captain Page says redfish, schools of oversized reds roaming the flats on the west side of Lemon Bay, north of Stump Pass. And then offshore, gag groupers, nice gags holding on the ledges and 105 feet of water off of Venice.
Well, it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show.
What's that?
It's Ask Captain Rick, of course.
All
and
right.
we have a question from a few cuties tonight in Homestead. Wait till you see them.
All right, let's see.
Let's take a listen.
Hi, Captain Rick. Hey, Captain Rick. My name is Owen. I'm from Homestead, Florida, and I was wondering how to target redfish and flamingo.
Well, first off, you need to take that little red-headed man with you because he is very enthusiastic about catching redfish or asking Captain Rick a question. But it's really simple. The key is to go during the time of year when there's lots of fish. Now, on this past full moon, just a week or so ago, big schools of redfish pushed in all over Florida Bay. So go down there, get in a shallow draft boat. You can take a kayak, a canoe, you can take your technical pole-in skiff like the Maverick, and look for the schools of fish. Once you find them, throw gold spoons. Don't forget to just keep reeling. Reel that spoon as fast as you can without it skipping on the surface. And Owen, you're gonna catch a lot of fish.
But you're gonna need your party boy with you.
That's
to
right.
celebrate when you do catch them. Okay, if you have a question for Captain Rick, send in a good quality horizontal video to our website, ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. And remember, the question should be 30 seconds or less and have someone celebrate when you're done answering or asking your question. Okay, moving right along the coastline, we're checking out the Southeast and Keys regions. And then we're returning right here on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report with a beautiful truck.
Oh,
that's my favorite truck.
That's a beautiful green color, isn't it?
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. The American Fishing Tackle Company, precision tackle and performance clothing since 1958. Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I think it's time to change my battery. Now you do it.
Get AC Delco batteries at Bennett Auto Supply. Plus, get $10 off your first online purchase when you register at BennettAuto.com.
Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, but not alone.
How can you turn a redfish into a new truck or boat? Catch a CCA Florida Star Tagged redfish. Prizes from Conley Buick GMC, Contender, Pathfinder, Hells Bay Boatworks, and Sea Hunt boats. Complete with Yamaha motor and trailer. Win your share of $500,000 in prizes and college scholarships during the summer-long tournament. Other great prizes from Academy Sports and Outdoors, Bad Boy Buggies, Power Pole, Costa Sunglasses, and more. Register now at ccaflstar.com.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Casa Vieja Lodge.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left, this whole cycle.
When it comes to sailfishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Welcome. Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. We're going to grab that empty toolbox for me. Let's start here with the aluminum bed.
That's a big hole. Huge. We got Swiss cheese for a truck here. I'm curious to see if that will do the same thing with the Chevy.
Well, let's find out. Same spot, same angle, same empty toolbox.
Took it way better.
The steel held up.
Silverado proved it is the toughest truck here.
Well, I got to tell you, Bree, you know, when we go to Chevy dealerships, a lot of times there's so many cars you could potentially be confused because of all the beautiful colors.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
Ed's going to clear that up for us right now.
Thank goodness.
So Ed, let me ask you, coming to a Chevy dealership because of all these beautiful cars and trucks can be sometimes intimidating. So do you have any advice for me?
Yeah, I mean, the showroom today is so much different than it was a few years ago. And yes, the technology's changed, the sheet metal's changed. But there are so many resources that you can use to look up the things that maybe you want to look at, or come to visit the local showroom. As we walk through the beautiful showroom that we're here in today, you have everything from the great sheet metal of the Silverado, which has a lot of needs and a lot of desires. And again, it's all about fitting the needs of the customer. So it could be a full-size truck you need, it could be a mid-size truck in the Colorado, it can be a heavy-duty truck because you need some pulling or towing needs. It can be the full lineup of SUVs where, we have the new Trax, we have the Equinox and the Traverse, all the way up to the Tahoe and the Suburban, because maybe you have a big family or you just need to haul around a lot of stuff. And we can't forget about the award-winning car lineup, whether it be the Sonic, the Spark, the Cruise, the Malibu, or the great Impala that we're looking at, have just gotten awards all over the map. And can't forget the great new Camaro that we came out with this last year, or the Corvette, or the SS sedan. Again, the lineup is complete, whatever you're looking for. And again, it's about fitting the needs. And your needs may not be a specific vehicle. It could be a safety need. It could be a technological need. And let's face it, technology has really advanced itself. So to learn about some of the technology, whether it be an Android Auto or an Apple CarPlay or wireless charging or the new MyLink systems that really integrate with your phone, a lot of great new technology and all those features. But again, online, Chevy.com has a lot of those things. You can read, kind of brush up on the things you're looking for. Even at the dealership, you have displays like this that can cover the different safety features. If you're looking for something to do with trailering, it can tell you what do you need to pull or carry that you have in your, inventory. Different options and wheels, vehicle highlights. Again, the resources are endless.
Engine transmissions.
Yes, all kind of different, just helpful things to help you with the
different
vehicle.
colors that the product come in, as well as all the vinyl interiors or leather interiors.
Very, very important. So the bottom line is there's something to fit your needs, and it's all about meeting the needs of the customer. Again, whether it be economic, technological, safety, power, towing, whatever a customer needs, we think we can fit the bill.
Well, Ed, thank you so much for informing us on how we can become a smarter shopper. But more importantly, guys, go down to your local Chevy dealer and tell them Ed and Rick sent you.
You know what fits my needs?
What?
My diamond tri-coat Chevy Silverado.
Oh.
I love my truck. You know who fits my needs?
Who?
Captain Jimbo Thomas in the Southeast Costa Vieja region has all of the weekend bite info for your perfect hookup. Let's hear it, Jimbo.
That's correct, Bree. Hello, Rick. Well, when we talk about permit, we're usually referring to the permit that we catch on the flats, but we do find them offshore as well. In the spring, around the full moons of March and April, those permit will school up to spawn on the offshore wrecks in roughly 50 to 100 feet of water, and they can be spotted flashing or mooning up on the surface. They're also commonly caught off the beaches and in the inlets throughout the region, where they usually are caught eating a live crab intended for a tarpon. Then after those permit come off the wrecks, fishing for them in the channels and along the channel edges is very productive, especially when the wind blows some sargassum weed inshore. Those permit will feed on the small crabs and shrimp that are hiding in the sargassum. And when they're in this feeding pattern, they're usually a little less weary, and it makes them pretty easy to be caught, or a lot easier at least. Look for them and listen for pops or slurps on the surface. Then as the wind drops and the sargassum doesn't come into the bay as much, that is when it's time to start looking for them tailing, mudding, or just cruising on the flats. Look for flats with hard corally type bottom that hold sea urchins, crabs, and other crustaceans that they like to feed on. And at times they can also be found around structure like coral heads, pilings, and wrecks in the bay. Lately, the permit fishing has been pretty steady on both the incoming and outgoing tide. Still south of Caesars Creek. A good area has been around the Ragged Keys, with fish in the 12 to 17 pound range. Look for flats with good current flow and anywhere from 3 to 6 feet of water. And regardless of where you're fishing for permit, small live crab is by far the best bait, but there are also plenty of them caught on live shrimp and crab pattern flies. I got a photo here of George Crozer from Washington, D.C., and he's showing off one of several small permit he caught on the fly rod on an outing with Captain Joe Gonzalez just a few days ago in Biscayne Bay. So those are some nice fish he's catching there.
You're right, Jimbo. Hey, while he's out permit fishing, did you get a report on bonefish?
Yep, we're going to stay on the flats of South Biscayne Bay, and there's been plenty of bonefish mixed in with those permit. The bone fishing has been best first thing in the morning before the water gets too warm, or just after one of our daily afternoon rain showers, and the alkaline tide has been the most productive. The outside flats, especially around Sands Key, has been one of the better areas lately with good numbers of fish, but they haven't been very big, which is fairly typical for this time of the year. The best baits have been small crabs, shrimp, skimmer jigs, and shrimp or crab pattern flies. Now moving offshore, there's been a fair amount of sailfish. Here we are in August, and we're catching sails on a pretty regular basis. That really isn't that uncommon to be catching them this time of the year. One of the reasons it's been good is because the conditions along the Gulf Stream have been good with north current and blue water. These sails are being caught anywhere from 100 to 300 feet of water on live herrings, pilchards, and sardines and goggle eyes, fished under the kite. And if there's not enough wind, try slow trolling or drift those live baits. There have also been a number of sail bites coming off of free jumping sails, which have been easy to spot on the calm days. If you see a free jumping sail, try to determine the depth, get in front of them, fish on the south side, get a few baits out, and more often than not, this will result in a hookup. Now, I do have a picture here, and this is a jumping sail that we caught and released on the Thomas Flyer about 2 weeks ago. Just happened to take that shot on my cell phone.
It's so amazing how that fish, for whatever reason, to me, Jimbo, looks like a little spearfish.
He's just coming straight up out of the water, and he had all of his fins tucked in, but it was definitely a sailfish.
It's a cool shot. What else you got for me offshore?
Okay, well, the nighttime snapper fishing has been excellent throughout the region, especially for mangrove snappers. There's also been some mutton and yellowtails mixed in, and with all this heat, getting out in the evening is not a really bad idea. The snapper have been hanging out on the outside reef in 40 to 80 feet of water. They're being caught on dead sardines, silver sides, and pilchards, fished on the bottom with a knocker rig using 20 to 30 pound fluoro or mono leader and 1/0 to 3/0 circle hooks. Captain Ryan Ormston aboard the party boat Reward out of Miami, he's been fishing the outside reef line off Government Cut. He's been finding mangroves from 2 to 6 pounds, and that he says that the best bite has started after 10 o'clock at night. And they're running trips, I think they go to 1 o'clock, something like that. There have been pilchards and goggle eyes coming up in the lights under the boat, and they're dropping a sabiki down, catching those live baits and putting those back down for baits. And that's what the larger fish have been being caught on, those fresh liveys. But he also says that the limit and bull sharks have been a real problem, eating a lot of those hooked fish, so they got to get them in quick.
All right, great report, Jimbo. Thank you so much. We're going to take a look at the hot spots from the Southeast region, brought to you by Center State Bank. Inshore, get out early and cast live crabs, detailing bonefish, and permit on the flats of South Biscayne Bay. And then offshore, beat the heat, snapper fishing in the evenings with live and cut baits along the edge of the outside reef. Bree?
Yeah, I know what Jimbo's talking about. I always get sharked.
Yeah, you're a sharky kind of girl.
All right. Filling in for Randy today is Captain Mark Johnson in the Keys region, who's ready to take it away. Go ahead, Mark.
Hello, everybody. Captain Mark here, filling in for the great RT. He's far away, and today we're talking about a little bit on the offshore report, and I think we're first up here with some permits. Is that right, Rick?
That's correct. So go ahead and give it to us, Mark.
Okay, the permit can be found on both the Atlantic and the Gulf sides here in the Keys. And on the ocean, you want to be looking for them on the rocky edges of the flats, the channels, or the wrecks. And you like to use a medium spinning rod with a 12 to 20 pound fluorocarbon leader and a 1 and 2 aught hook using a live silver dollar blue crab for bait. Most of the permit you will fish for, you will see first and cast to, and you want to be casting your crab in front of them, as that is most important, because you want that permit to see your crab. On the bay side of the shallow wrecks, you will see the big schools of permit this time of month, especially if the weather conditions are right. This time of year when it can be flat calm, that's the time you want to be out there on those wrecks first thing in the morning, late in the evening, the afternoon rather. Captain Randy Tao was on the shallow wreck last week, and it was really good on the incoming tide, and I know that he caught a couple of fish up in the 25-pound range.
You're absolutely right. All right, what else you got for us this week, Bub? Maybe some dolphin?
You know, offshore this week, yeah, the dolphin fishing's been really hot in that 500 to 800 feet of water, and you're looking for the scatter weeds and birds to find those dolphins. This week, they've been catching them good in the late in the afternoon, especially around the humps off of Duck Key, and sometimes these fish will pop up late in the day, maybe because the water gets too hot during the midday, or maybe because they're feeding at night. But trolling is always a great way to start if you don't want to go run and gun and chase those fish. Either way, you're looking for the weeds and the birds, and you want to troll to the south so that you can intercept those fish that are always migrating to the east. And again, I think that Randy's caught some big slammers here before we left for the Bahamas.
Hey, Mark, before we go inshore, the phone's a little muffled. I don't know if you're holding it with your chin or so, but try to fix that if you can.
Okay, got it.
You got it. Perfect. Sound great. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We also got some pretty heavy rain coming down right now, so that might be part of it too. But anyway, inshore, here we go. We got snook. The snook fishing is still really strong from Flamingo to all the beaches up the coast, and you can find them. And depending on your style of fishing, there has been plenty of fish to go around. The shorelines have been good using live kingfish under a cork, fishing around all the debris and snags, and also in the deeper channels using that 3/8-ounce lead jig head with your live bait. Captain Brian Williams, fishing out of the Angler House Marina, has been catching his share of snook on the incoming tides using pilchards. And he's been catching some big snook that he said have been over the legal size, which I think is 32 inches this far south. Also on the inshore, we have the trout. The trout by this summer has been red hot west of Flamingo, out around Sandy Key and in the Conkey Channel areas, using a 1/4-ounce white jig tip with white rubber grub tail or a piece of shrimp is your best bet, and they both work great. You want to fish along the edges of the channels and have 4 to 6 feet of water and let your jig sink all the way to the bottom and work it for you up and down and then dropping it back toward the bottom, and that motion will get you the bites. You can also fish the live shrimp under popping cork. That's been a traditional standard for many years, and that works really good as well. And if you're trying to target the really big trout, you want to use a live big bait like a pinfish or a pilchard or a small finger mullet, and you want to fish them on that 1/4-ounce jig head and work that very slow. And with a trout, a light spinning rod is always your best bet.
Thank you so much, Mark, for filling in for Randy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the king sailfish hotspots from the Florida Keys. Inshore permit. Look on the ocean side of the flats, looking on the rocky side of everything, on high water and around shallow wrecks in 15 to 25 feet of water. And then offshore dolphins start looking in 500 feet of water for scattered weeds and birds. Fish around the humps off a Marathon late in the day, low light.
I've never met Mark, but he sounds like such a surfer dude.
He's a cool dude.
Bro.
Yeah, man.
Right? Like, yeah, I got that down.
He's a visor, good-looking guy, wears the visor, and he's as hip as it gets.
Sounds like it. All right, let's check out some of the tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. How's that?
I like it.
All right, the Robert James Sales Slam Celebrity Tournament, set for September 9th through the 11th in Key West, is the first of 3 annual Keys fall tournaments that raise funds for the fight against cystic fibrosis. At the Slam, anglers target tarpon, permit, and bonefish to achieve the coveted Flats Grand Slam. Named after the man known as Mr. Everglades, the Herman Lucerne Memorial Backcountry Fishing Championship, based in Islamorada, September 16th through the 18th, targets 7 species in Everglades National Park waters. The tournament raises funds for projects to protect Everglades fishery resources. The Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, set for September 22nd through the 25th, recognizes individual and team champions scoring the largest bonefish and permit and top anglers in fly and Grand Slam divisions. At the Take Stock in Children Backcountry Challenge, scheduled for September 23rd through the 25th in Key Largo, anglers can win coveted trophies for catch and release of trout, snook, and redfish. Proceeds support Take Stock in Children scholarships for financially challenged Upper Keys students. And now, let's hear what Andy Newman has for us in the Florida Keys.
Let's hear it.
Well, hi guys. The Key West Fishing Tournament is an 8-month-long competition that runs through November 30th and is open to visiting and resident anglers. You can enter catches and witness releases for free at designated weigh stations in the Lower Keys and Key West. All entries receive a certificate noting the catch and qualify for prizes. There are more than 35 eligible species, including amberjack. More details at keywestfishingtournament.com. And for more information on other tournaments in the Florida Keys, it's always FLAkeys.com.
Always FLAkeys.com.
That's it.
Always. All right, we're about halfway through our Florida regions with the East region up next, and then you're gonna have to join Rick and I at the CCA Workbench for some new products. We'll be right back. Where's Dave?
I don't know.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Soft Science, supreme comfort footwear. Center State Bank, we believe in community. Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, and Pathfinder.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender boats. Performance through innovation.
Shallow Wrap Shad's a jerkbait with a secret move. When you pause, the lure slowly rises. I tell you, man, it makes fish come unglued.
Here at the CCA Workbench, Bree, and certainly we talk about new products. What are you doing?
I just don't know where your mouth is. Okay, keep going.
No, this is the
Where's
new...
Dave, Rick?
I don't know,
Why
Dave.
am I here?
Maybe Dave quit.
Maybe, but I'm here now.
Hey, why don't you tell me a little bit about the new coasters that you got there?
All right, I will. Well, these are the Copras, and they're one of their new frames with the amber lenses, 580p. And I actually think they're pretty good looking. They're a little bit bigger than the Annas, which I know are super popular. What was it, the turquoise and the tortoise frames sold out in like 2 months.
Right.
I tried to get some of them and I couldn't.
And
but
this is
these
the tortoise frame, right?
This is the tortoise, and it's got the orange on the inside here, which is kind of cute.
How you like that? You like the orange on the inside?
I like it. It's like a creamsicle type of color scheme.
Coasters.
Creamsicle.
Cool.
They should
How do
really
they
be
look on
creamsicles.
dudes? I want to know how you think they look on dudes.
They don't look bad on
make,
dudes.
They make one called the Cuts.
Yeah,
that's
I love the
similar
Cuts.
shape. I know that your boyfriend Joe wears the Cuts.
I wear the Cuts.
So anyway, it's kind of cool.
It is cool. The tortoise is a little feminine, but you could get away with the coconut for the Cuts or the Copras.
All right, so speaking of that, Bree, you know, AFCO is always coming up with some really cool stuff. I started out the segment with my mask on.
You did?
And what makes AFCO's sun mask different than some of the other brand makers of face protection is that they have now cut a place for your nose so that one, it's easier for you to breathe, and number two, it doesn't fog up your glasses. That's a huge part of sight fishing is you're out there and it's hot and you're breathing hard, pulling a skiff, and guess what? You start fogging up your glasses. Now you have to pull the mask down, and it's not really designed for what it was supposed to be designed for. Now, AFCO, just like always, staying ahead of the game, they came up with putting some holes in here and actually reinforcing it so that it doesn't tear, and that's what I like. They've also lengthened The neck, as you can tell, look at how it's longer in the back to help protect old crusty leatherback necks like I have.
Or preventative maintenance, such as myself.
That's
because
right.
I noticed I was on the water
Why
yesterday.
didn't they have these things when I first got started?
I don't know, but they should have.
Hey, so tell me about this deal here,
Okay.
man.
Well, these are really cool. I actually learned about them at Miss USA. They're called pop sockets, and I have one on my phone.
Okay.
Rick's got, you can personalize them, which is why it says Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on that one.
So show me how it works on your phone here.
So I have to explain it to people because they think they're kind of silly. They're like, what is that on your phone? Well, let me show you. So you pop it out like this,
right,
and you hold it like this.
Oh.
And it seems so simple, but it is revolutionary for selfies and a stand and just to be able to have a good grip on it, especially when you're on the boat.
Right.
You're checking text messages, emails. If you want a selfie with your own fish,
Yeah.
you can do that. I mean, look, I'm holding a fish.
You, with those arms like an orangutan, can do that,
Well,
of
it
course.
helps when you can hold on to it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
What
right?
you know, the thing is, I stick it in my back pocket all the time, and when I first saw it, I go, I can't put it in my pocket, but it folds down so tight.
It pops down.
It pops down.
socket.
Oh.
They also have mounts where you can put it on your car, so you can mount it to the specific spot on your car,
Oh,
so you
cool.
can kind of view it like that, which
All
is
right.
really neat.
So you got a cool little bracelet there, Bree.
Yeah, I do. I have it on. So this is it on.
Let me try to do this without breaking your wrist.
It's called Chasing Fin. They started in 2011, and they're a local Florida company. They have shirts, hats, mouse pads, koozies. But this is an adjustable rope bracelet that we found at iCast, and I think they're pretty neat. They come in 70 colors.
70?
70 colors. Can you believe that?
These are kind of cool, Bree. I like that.
Yeah,
Even
right?
they got chartreuses and purple 70, so I guess you could
Kathy wants that one, by the way.
Oh, she does.
She wants the purple and green one.
Okay.
So just so you know.
Hey, good job over here with your new
thanks.
product self.
Thank you very much.
So
with
we
my
don't need
selfie.
Dave anymore. We'll just do it over every week.
Bye,
We'll
Dave.
just
Have
be
fun
over.
wherever you are,
Yeah, man.
chasing marlins and whatnot.
All right, so let's go to another region.
Okay, in the Decks and Docks East region, the permit population may be a little shy from being bullied by bull sharks, that is. Right, Captain Mike?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're doing great. How are you, Hollywood?
I'm doing great. You know, it's been kind of an odd year for permit. Like Bree said, we're not seeing the bull sharks that have been eating the permits the last few years, but we're also not seeing those huge schools of permit either. The good news is that the permit that we are coming across are all big, 25 to 40 pound fish. And places like the power plant outflow and Fort Pierce Inlet, they have some resident fish on them that are a little bit smaller. You can run the beaches from Jupiter Inlet and Sebastian Inlet. From Jupiter Inlet to Sebastian Inlet, look for cruising fish on the rock piles. A lot of those fish are coming in singles and pairs, and they're all really, really big. Live crabs are the way to go. You want to fish them on 30-pound spinning gear, 40-pound fluorocarbon leader, and a 3.0 VMC thin wire circle hook. On the wrecks and also in the power plant outflow, you're better off to use a jig head and get the bait down. Those fish tend not to be on the surface. And Bass Assassin makes the JA series, a 3/8 ounce jig head. It's got a super strong hook. It's a 4.0 hook, and the fish don't straighten it out. And that's a big key when you're fishing crabs on permit. A lot of the jigs have weak hooks that tend to get straightened out. The other bite, the tarpon migration's kind of over, but we have a resident fish for the summer months. So places like the Blue Heron Bridge, Lighthouse Point, Big Mud Creek, the Harbor Branch Channel, Grand Isle, they all have their schools of small summertime fish. We're starting to see the red minnows moving onto the beaches in Martin and St. Lucie counties, and the tarpon are starting to show up on those minnow schools at dawn and dusk. There's also a lot of fish around Fort Pierce Inlet, around the inlet on the outgoing tide, and also on the mullet schools that are starting to show on the beach all the way up in the Vero Cove. And all these fish are sort of arbitrarily rolling tarpon. They're not in schools, so the way you target them is put your lures or bait in front of the fish, at least the fish that you can see and know that they're there. You can cast the lure bait to rolling fish, or you can put baits out behind the boat in areas where you see them rolling or concentrated. Live mullet, Spanish sardines, thread fins, they're going to be your best baits. Chartreuse colored swim plug is pretty much money on the beach fish around those minnow schools. Average tarpon inshore is going to be like 20 to 50 pounds. The beach and inlet fish are going to be more in the 60 to 100 pound category.
All right, let's go offshore there, Hollywood.
Well, every August we get a good push of kingfish to the Treasure Coast area. They always seem to show up wherever the bait is most concentrated, and there's been a good concentration of fish on the offshore bar in 65 feet of water just south of Fort Pierce. And they're also on the 6 Mile Reef off Stewart. But the best concentration of kingfish the last couple of weeks, that's been on the sand pile east of the St. Lucie Inlet. That's where the Spanish sardines have been schooled up in big numbers. Most of the kings that I'm seeing are in that 8 to 15 pound range, but I did see a fish over 40 pounds caught at the sand pile, so there are some big fish in the mix. Live Spanish sardines or blue runners are by far going to be your best bait. You can fish them on number 4 wire stinger rigs with a number 2 VMC treble hook, or you can do that Palm Beach triple hook mono rig. That'll get you more bites, but it'll also get you cut off a lot more. The other thing, the sailfish, summer of sailfish just continues to be outstanding throughout the entire region. The fish are spread out in anywhere from 50 to 170 feet of water and seem to be around anything that's holding bait right now. They're on the color changes, they're on the weed lines, there's a lot of free jumpers, and if you can get through all the bonitas, they're also on those big bait schools that are closer to shore. You can slow troll live baits around the bait schools and do really well, but you'll catch pretty much just as many sailfish trolling the color changes in 50 to 80 feet of water. It seems like a lot of the fish are still in pretty shallow. If you see a free jumper, run to that area, put out baits, and you have a good chance that the fish will come over to the boat and investigate and then see your offerings. We're also seeing a lot more smaller fish, so the average sailfish has been more in that 30 to 50 pound range. I got a photo there. That's Mike Breimer and Gary Ingman. They teamed up to catch and release that sailfish in 120 feet of water off of Hope Sound, and that fish ate a live pilchard.
So we got West Coast guys coming over to the East Coast to catch our sailfish. Love it. All right, Hollywood. So tell me about the bass fishing.
Well, you know, there's still a great dawn bite on the north end of Lake Okeechobee. For the guys that are fishing white spinner baits, swim baits, or topwater plugs in the shad colors, they're fishing around the Kissimmee grass areas, basically from the Pierce Canal all the way to Third Point. I was talking to Captain Mike Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He's telling me the schooling fish bite's just been outstanding, but to make sure that you keep your distance from the schools and make the longest cast possible so you don't put the fish down. If you do, the fish go down, you can use a Carolina rigged worm in the same areas and get the bite. And then once the sun gets up, you want to move to the outside grass lines, work a watermelon red glitter colored fluke or a 10-inch black and blue worm. You want to work it really slow and methodically and look for that big fish bite. Live shiners are out catching lures right now, 30 to 50 fish a morning right now on shiners. Those guys are working the outside points around Harney Pond and Kings Bar. And on the days when we've had rain, the shatter hatchet in the mouth of the Kissimmee River, you can slide over there and cast the schooling fish. The average Okeechobee bass right now is going to be 1 to 3 pounds with fish to 7 pounds in the mix. And I got a photo there, and just, you know, every now and then Lake Okeechobee will surprise you. That's Daniel Frankel. He was fishing for bass when that snook ate a live shiner on Lake Okeechobee in Harney Pond. He was fishing in Harney Pond with Captain Nathan Shellen and caught a snook, which is kind of crazy.
That is cool.
Surprise.
All right, great report, Mike, from the Decks and Docks East region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Captain Mike says inshore tarpon and snook around the bait schools on the Bob Graham Beach, copper juice saltwater assassins 4-inch sea shads or a white 5-inch split tail shad. And then offshore, sailfish, kingfish, and cobias around the Spanish sardine schools on the sand piles east of St. Lucie Inlet. Bree?
That guy looked pretty surprised and pretty happy
Can you
about it.
imagine what happens? You're bass fishing and all of a sudden you
so
hook this
cool.
snook and he runs off all this. You think you got the biggest bass ever?
Ever?
And then he got a line on his side.
Wah, wah, wah. I'd still be happy about it. That's
Yeah,
like one
man.
of those fish stories when
Of
you're out and people
course.
are like,
Awesome.
hey, I was bass fishing and I caught a snook and it was really cool.
Man, you're like a
feel
surfer
excited.
chick tonight. What's the Mark got you
Mark's
going?
got me all like surfery. All right, guys, if you're in the Panhandle or Central East regions, get ready for your weekend bite report right here on the Chevy
Florida
Insider Fishing
Report.
Wow, we're so in sync. Yay.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. StarTron cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. And Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist.
No matter where you are in Florida, Decks and Docks Lumber Company has got you covered for decking, seawall, and dock piling. From the Keys to the Panhandle and the Nature Coast to the Space Coast, we deliver the strongest products by the hardest working folks in the business. Whether you're fixing a dock or building a marina, go with the leader. Go with Decks and Docks. Supplying Florida's boaters, homeowners, and dock builders for over 20 years.
How's it going? Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. Awesome. All right, let him drop. Let's see how the aluminum bed of this truck held up.
Oh, wow. That's a good-sized puncture. That's all the way through, for sure. Full-on crack here. If you're aluminum now, you're gonna go, ugh.
Let's check out the Silverado steel bed.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple dents.
I'd expect more dents.
Chevy clearly held up better than the Ford.
Hi, I'm Robert Shamlin with JL Marine Systems with your Power Pole Tip of the Week. Last week we talked about the Sea Monster advanced features that are built into all the Power Pole products. This week I'd like to talk about the Sea Monster app. Go to the marketplace, download it either for your iPhone or Android system, and it'll unlock all of the customizable features only available through the app. It also has a feature of diagnostics that you can email directly to our tech support department in case you ever have any issues. In addition to that, you can upgrade to the latest software, so you're always at the latest version of our software with the latest features. It even has assistance in theft recovery, and it'll also help you register your products. So go to the market, download the app, and that's your Power Pole Tip of the Week.
All right, guys, let's motor on up to the top of the state to chat with Captain Pat Deneen in the Panhandle region. Hey, Pat.
Hey, Bree, how are you doing?
Pretty darn good.
Well, awesome. Tell you what, we've got, we don't have permit up here. We certainly have some permit, but what?
That's okay, you don't have permit. You can talk about other things.
Yeah,
I'll permit you to do that.
The permits aren't here, but we do have mingo snappers, also known as vermilion snappers. And the crews are catching them really regular, coming home with some nice stringers of them. Swoop 1 and 2 out of Destin. Every day they're coming home with plenty of 15 to 20 inch mingo snappers. And they're fishing natural bottom in 160 to 220 feet of water using 2-hook chicken rigs with inline 1/0 circle hooks. The bait of choice is cut squid or chopped herrings. And they're dropping the rigs all the way to the bottom, cranking it up 1 to 3 times. And while they're bottom fishing for these vermilion snappers, they're floating some live baits on top for king mackerel, and occasionally picking up a bonus blackfin dolphin or even a wahoo. And speaking of the king mackerel bite's been real consistent off of Destin and Pensacola. They're catching them near shore, but the best bite is further out along Mingo Ridge and west along the southwest edge, live baiting with cigar minnows and herring. The fish, some live ones on top and 1 or 2 behind a trolling lead, a planer, or a downrigger. And as always, a wire leader is a must to prevent the cutoffs, and a stinger rig is probably the most effective setup where you have a hook kind of midway or towards the tail of the bait. Most of the kings are schoolie size in the 7 to 15 pound class, but you never know what you're going to get to bite. The Huntress out of Destin with Captain Mike Grafe, they were king mackerel fishing midweek and landed a 134 pound yellowfin while king mackerel fishing. And getting a bite from a fish like that is pretty impressive, but actually catching it on king mackerel tackle is even more impressive. Moving inshore, the Spanish mackerel moving in the bays, particularly Pensacola Bay. You're going to find them mainly on the south side between Pickens Point and the park boundary along the edge of the flats, where the depths drop from 5 to about 12 feet. The major points are in the passes are also great places to find them. The bigger fish are being caught on lures, flashy hard baits like miradines and topwater baits like chug bugs. The Spanish are running 5 to 6 pounds. And then also inshore, late summer is mangrove snapper season inside the bays. You're going to find them on structure. The best areas are going to be structured near passes like bridges, jetties, and residential docks, but also deep water structures well into the bay work out real well, like the 3 Mile Bridge, the Midway Bridge, the Hathaway Bridge. A 3 to 3 inch free line pilchard or lightly weighted pilchard is a beta choice. A live shrimp does well. Also use light leaders and small light wire hooks in the number 2 to 1/0 size, and then 15-pound fluorocarbon leaders. And the mangroves, they respond real good to chumming, so chum them up with some cut bait or some chopped pilchards, and the mangroves are running up to about 13 inches in the bay.
Hey, Pat, I got a couple questions for you. The first question was, today, actually, I got a call from a guy, and he was looking for to do a dolphin charter out of Mobile. How far do you have to run to get into the water in Mobile to get the dolphin?
If you want to, like, hey, I'm going to go get them for sure, right now it's going to be about 90 miles out close to the double nipple where the green water turns to blue water. So it's really dependent on where that blue water is and where the dirty water is. And currently it's running 80 to 90 miles.
You know, that double nipple always is producing, no doubt about that. So I heard that you guys had a monster bite at the bridge for some redfish. Is that on the outgoing tide or the incoming tide?
The best bite's dealing on the outgoing tide, and they are starting to show up at Destin Bridge. But as you know, Rick, it's still a little bit early. Let that August mature a little bit into September, and then that bite's really going to pick on well.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to being with you in October. We're going to bring Captain Page when we go to the Shrimp Fest in Mobile, or actually Orange Beach, Alabama.
Wait, can I come?
Yeah, you can come.
Okay, thanks.
Everybody can come.
I just
All
invited
our
myself.
audience can come. All
Everybody
right,
go.
Pat, thank you. I'm going to take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Captain Pat says inshore, big Spanish mackerel along the flats and edges in South Pensacola Bay using chug bugs and miridines. And then offshore, for the fly fishermen, big schools of bonita on top, 3 miles of the beach, feeding heavily on those fry minnows. Use gummy flies or glass minnow imitations, Bree.
Well, Rick, we've heard about the CCA Star Tournament, and we have an update.
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, in Pat's region, a guy named Todd Tully, I believe, he caught on Sunday, he caught a redfish. And guess what?
What?
Small redfish. Now, he was registered as he is a CCA member.
Yep.
He was registered for the Star Tournament, so that's all part of the challenge, right? But you got to read the rules. Guess what happened?
And follow the rules.
So he sees this fish, he takes a picture of the fish, cuts the tag off, releases the fish into the water, and guess what? He calls up Star, the office, and they said, did you take a picture of the fish on the measuring board?
No.
He goes, what? I gotta have a measuring board?
No.
Guess what, Bree? Bad news. He's got the tag, he's got the proof, he's got the picture, but he didn't cross his T's and dot all his I's. He didn't know the rules, and unfortunately, he couldn't be awarded the $80,000 contender.
Oh my gosh, he's probably kicking himself right now.
Oh, more than
But
that.
you got to follow the rules. We're all learning that with
That's
Miss
why
Florida
rules are
too.
rules.
If you guys have seen that on the news, had to give
Wow.
that to someone else because she didn't follow the rules.
That's right.
So, rules are rules. They're put in place for a reason. Okay, Captain Jim Ross in the Bell's Real Legend Central East region is always ready with a bullseye accurate report. So let's hear what's biting in his waters this weekend. Are you following the rules up there, Jim?
We're trying to, Bree. We're trying to. But, you know, the permit don't always pay attention to us up here in this region. They are here for a few times of the year, though, and in certain times you can actually do pretty good. The spring and fall of the year, the permit usually are targeted by guys that are, or not really targeted, but they're caught by guys that are targeting whiting and pompano in the surf. And they generally use fiddler crabs, sand fleas, cut shrimp, or small pompano jigs. And the smaller permit are often mixed in with those pompano schools just outside the surf break, so that's how they're catching them. Now, in the summer months, we get a lot of adult permit out on the near-shore wrecks, and even some of the reefs at times. Sebastian and Port Canaveral are two that they come on, and then, of course, one out at midway between Ponce and Canaveral itself as well that tends to hold them. The Mana Camp wreck has a tendency to have some really big ones caught off of it in the summertime. But you have to have the right bait. And right now, and anytime you're catching permit, their favorite food is a small blue crab or a small pass crab. And if you don't have a crab, then it's really tough because these fish get really stupid when they see a crab swimming by their nose in the current, and they're really easy to catch if you can get the right bait. So if you're looking for permit on the beach, remember, spring and fall, typically smaller fish just outside of the surf break, larger fish on the at the inlet itself at Sebastian Inlet on the outgoing tide or on those wrecks. And those fish can be 12 to 30 pounds here in the Bell's Real Legend Central East region. Now, I've got a picture here, and this is one that Miss Robin Carpenter caught. She did not catch that in the Central East region, though. We took a little short soiree down to Randy Towns region, and she sight cast this one with a crab just a couple of weeks ago.
Went to Archies region. Nice,
good job
bro.
there. Way to go. Keep going. What you got?
Well, you know, we've got a lot of other stuff, and including the redfish, and we've always got redfish here in the Central East region in Mosquito Lagoon. Now, Captain Travis Tanner at melbournefishingcharter.com is one of the guides that has been putting his clients on some giant ones recently, and he's fishing the edges of the shoals and the channels in the Mosquito Lagoon. Now, the water's kind of low right now, so the big fish can't get up on top. So he's using cut baits and targeting these fish in the 3 to 5 foot depths off the edges of the flats. Now, the water right now is pretty dark. You can't really sight fish them in many cases. In fact, it looks a lot like a yoo-hoo, to be honest with you. But, so, you know, artificial lures really aren't working. But if you want to use an artificial lure, try the top water plugs first thing in the morning, first hour or two of the day. You got those Rapala skitter walks and that new Skitter V. Now, if you guys and gals out there can't pat your head and rub your belly at the same time, which is about what it takes to make a top water plug work properly, try the new Skitter V, because this thing, I had a young 7-year-old girl the other day who didn't know which end of the rod she was supposed to hold on to when she got on the boat. By the end of the trip, she was walking the dog like a pro with that new Rapala Skitter V. So take those things up to the Mosquito Lagoon, and you're going to catch yourself some redfish this week. And if there happen to be a lot of grass floating, switch over to that 5-inch saltwater assassin dye dapper in the gold pepper shiner or the chicken on a chain color. First thing in the morning, you're going to get some of those fish.
Jim, you got about a minute to do both offshore species. Go quick.
Gotcha. So Travis and Jennifer, I've got a picture of them, and to show you some of those gigantic redfish that we've been getting in the Mosquito Lagoon. Now, the other thing we've got is sharks. We've got a lot of sharks throughout the region right now. And if you've got a good bait supply of glass minnows or pogies along the beach, you're going to find those sharks in with them. Now, Floridana Beach to Patrick Air Force Base is really good right now. And then also Playa Linda up to Bethune Beach. Now, many of the wrecks and the reefs in the 50 to 90-foot depths have a good bunch of them on them as well. They're running about 25 to 75 pounds right now. And then our last species is mangrove snapper. Now, those things are in 60 to 120 feet of water. You can get your 5-fish limit if you chum them up to the top and then float some chunks of sardine or pogies back in your chum slick. And you want to use about 8 to 10 feet of 20 to 25-pound Suffolk fluorocarbon and a small 3/0 or 4/0 VMC circle hook. Hide it in the chunk, and you're going to get some nice ones, 3 to 6 pounds on average. And we've got snapper to 10 pounds right now in my region.
Man, great recovery. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Central East region. Captain Jim says that we're going to go inshore. Sebastian Inlet jetties for snook and redfish use live croakers for bait. And then offshore, king mackerels on the 50 to 80-foot reefs use live pogies and sardines on a wire stinger rig.
Great recovery.
Wow,
He
I'm
did
still
great.
going
That
fine.
was rude. Coming to the end of the line on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're having Coast Conservation Minute Tip and then the Northeast region to explore, so stay hooked. How was that?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Just like always.
Thanks.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a paw and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
Introducing the Yeti Hopper. Leak-proof, ice for days, tough as nails. Built to go the extra mile, and then some.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Today, we're talking about Automotive Awards. Which one of these awards appeals most to you?
Top safety pick, mid-size car and SUV.
Most dependable means a lot to me.
The green car, because I like fuel efficiency.
What if there was a car company that received all of these awards?
One company, one award in all these? Chevy.
Chevrolet is the most awarded car company of the last 2 years.
I love it. It's fierce.
How would you sum this car up in one word?
Incredible, amazing. I can't use one word.
Today's Coastal Conservation Minute is about treating the fish with respect. Now guys, understand that small fish won't always be juveniles. So if we treat those fish with respect and handle them with care, they can grow up to be some extremely large trophies. Now, when you go to put that fish back in the water, don't just casually flip it back in the water. Take a little bit of time to revive it. You know, big snook sometimes, one of the indicators that I see is they'll actually hold on to your thumb while they're facing into the current. And when they're ready to go, they'll actually let it go. The same thing happens with a tarpon. He won't hold on to your thumb, but if you move him in a motion so that he actually feels like he's swimming, before you know it, he's gonna let go out of your hand and be on his way. If you're fishing offshore, you can do the same thing with sailfish. I've seen so many people just flip a dolphin over and he smashes down on the deck. Guys, if you take a little time and revive that fish is gonna turn into a trophy. He's not gonna always be small, and that's what we're actually trying to achieve, is catching bigger fish. So, treat those fish with respect, and that's why it's today's Costa Conservation Minute. Treat me with respect, Bree.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Of course, Rick, I will always treat you with respect. All right, Rick, you know, I was feeling a little lonely in the studio tonight, and that's probably because Captain Tommy Derringer is joining us on FaceTime. He's not in the studio tonight. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, guys, yeah, I missed being down there. Can you beam me down there real quick?
Yeah, I'm beaming you through right now.
All right, cool. You know, guys, we don't catch a whole lot of permit here in the Strike Zone Northeast region, but the ones we do catch usually come as a bycatch when people are fishing for pompano. Now, we don't talk about fishing from the beach that much, and that's just what permit and pompano fishing is in my region. Now, the permit that are caught here are usually caught along the beach, mixed in with the pompano during their migration. I spoke to a few of the best surf fishermen around, and they tell me they catch a permit or two every year that are they're pretty big fish, as big as 15 to 30 pounds. Now, I spoke to legendary pompano fisherman Larry Fishman Finch, and he told me the best times to fish for pompano is when the water's right around 70 degrees. Late September through November are going to be his favorite months. Now, there are a few things he looks for when targeting them on the beach. The first is going to be clean water. Second is you want to make your cast to right where the waves are breaking on the outside sandbar. As the waves crash, it's going to disturb the bottom and the bait, and that's where the fish are going to be feeding. The third is the bait itself. Now, Larry says when the pompano first hit the north end of the region, he'll use small, fresh river shrimp, but as they work their way south, he's going to switch it up to a sand fillet. Now, as far as the rig, Larry likes to use a pompano rig with either a white or yellow bead, along with a 1/0 circle hook. Now, if you want to learn more about pompano and or permit fishing, as well as just beach fishing in general, check out Larry Finch when he comes and does his seminars at Strike Zone up in Jacksonville, and you can even buy some of his instructional videos in the shop there as well. Now, I got a photo here. This is Noel Kuhn, who's also one of our beach fishing experts here, with a monster pompano that could easily pass for a permit if you didn't know any better. Now, staying inshore, you know, we have a great high outgoing tide this weekend to toss a topwater for redfish. We've been catching a bunch of redfish on the new Rapala Skitter V topwater plug this week. That lure is awesome, and if you've ever had any trouble walking the dog with a topwater, this lure is going to make it as easy as possible, and it has some killer side-to-side action. Now, I spoke to the guys at Strike Zone, and they've got a great selection of that new Skidder V, so you might want to run up there and grab a few. You know, look for those redfish to be up along the grass lines early when the tide is up this weekend. Now, I've been fishing the Palm Valley area down to St. Augustine, and the redfish are definitely holding close to those schools of mullet. And on that high tide, they're going to be right there up against the grass lines. Now, I also spoke to Captain Ron Scher from FishingNorthFlorida.com, and he tells me he's also been doing well with topwaters up in Jacksonville and Clapboard Creek, as well as Sisters Creek and the Hannah Mills area. Now, he's looking for the same stuff, those bait fish schools right up there along the grass lines. Now, Captain Ron is also catching some big bull reds in the St. Johns River. He's fishing the slack tides on the edges of the river channel from the Little Jetties to the Dames Point Bridge with a cut crab, mullet, or a ladyfish. And I got another picture here. This is my buddy Ray Adams with a nice red that he caught with me while I was using that new Rapala Skidder V topwater plug. Now, going offshore, I spoke to Captain Shane Stover from ChasingTailsCharters.com, and he tells me he's been on a really good mutton snapper bite out of Ponce Inlet. Now, he's heading north out of Ponce towards Flagler, and he's been catching some huge muttons in about 100 to 120 feet of water. He's targeting both small ledges and some of the bigger reefs. Now, Captain Shane says he's been catching them both on the bottom, and he's getting some in his chum slick when he's out there chumming for the mangrove snapper. Frozen sardines have been working best, and those muttons are averaging 10, they are even up to 20 pounds. And I got a picture of a good one here. This is Ronnie Council with a huge mutton snapper that he caught with Captain Shane out of Ponce Inlet.
Whoa.
Now, staying offshore, you know, the grouper bite has been really good coming off this new moon. I spoke to Captain Billy Hunsicker from EndlessSummerCharters.com, and he tells me he's been finding some nice scamp grouper in the 150 to 180 foot depths. He's targeting smaller ledges and live bottom just inside that main ledge, and he's using some really heavy tackle and some big live baits like a pinfish or a grunt. And Billy says if you want to find some of those small ledges, you should start by looking anywhere from about 1 to 2 miles inshore of that main ledge. Now, if anyone out there catches some of those scamps, I'm going to expect to invite over for dinner because those things are delicious.
You know, Tommy, it's so cool to have you on FaceTime. I'm really looking forward to more of the guys picking up and doing this, you know. But how are those girls?
The girls are doing great.
Yeah, I mean, we miss seeing them. We got to have where they come back, don't you think?
A reunion.
A reunion.
Yeah.
We need to have a girls' reunion in a couple weeks or so.
Yeah, they can sit right on
That sounds good. They would, hey, my one daughter would be thrilled. She asks every time, where's Bree? When's Bree calling you? When's Bree
Okay, wait,
calling?
I have another question. Is that a powder-coated Yeti back there?
It is,
Oh,
yes.
it's so
fancy.
I love
It's got the right sticker on it, too. Good
I used
job.
to have mine powder-coated, but it fell off the T-top, and
All
I
right.
don't have it anymore.
Hey,
Sorry.
guys, we just got to
Okay.
finish the
Yeah,
show.
we do.
So I'm going to
Sorry.
go ahead and get to the hot spots from the Northeast region. Good job tonight, Tommy.
See you guys.
Captain Tommy says redfish on topwater plugs throughout the entire region. Get out really early and target mullet schools along the grass flats, and then offshore, mutton snappers on the reefs and ledges and 100 to 120 feet from Ponce Inlet to Flagler Ground. Sardines on the bottom, or chum till you get them to the top if the current allows.
Nice. All right, guys, don't untie those lines just yet. When we return, we're telling you what to look for in your waters next week, so we'll see you in just 1 second. We should powder coat one.
Welcome. Bye. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. We're going to grab that empty toolbox for me. Let's start here with the aluminum bed.
That's a big hole. Huge. We got Swiss cheese for a truck here. I'm curious to see if that will do the same thing with the Chevy.
Well, let's find out. Same spot, same angle, same empty toolbox.
Took it way better. The steel held up.
Silverado proved it is the toughest truck here.
When you're moving a big offshore boat, it's all about thrust and trust. For thrust, nothing compares to the Yamaha purpose-built 5.3-liter V8 Power Pioneer. And for trust, Yamaha's new F350C model becomes the only outboard in its horsepower class to feature a 5-year limited warranty. Never settle for less than complete confidence and control in the open water. That's Yamaha V8 Power. Get the best and forget the rest.
fishermen who swear by it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Hey guys, next week we are talking wahoo!
Wahoo!
Or yoo-hoo!
You know why they call them wahoos?
Because that's the sound you make when you catch them?
Yeah, because that line is screaming off. Have you ever caught a wahoo, Bree?
No.
So guess what? We got to go do that.
I know.
So when it happens in the Bahamas in November and December,
we're going.
We'll crank up the bird and we'll go.
All right.
What do you think?
I
Hey, good
love
show
it.
tonight.
Wahoo!
Thank you so much for helping me with the products.
You're
you do such a
welcome.
great job.
We'll
hey,
see you
good
next
night,
week,
guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Wahoo!